Just want to talk about what ground baits to use on the canals when you're targeting these small fish. You want to stay clear of any pellet mixes or method mixes. A lot of the time you go into the tackle shops and you'll be faced with hundreds of different types and it's a bit confusing. But if you just try and avoid anything that's got any pellets in or method mix, crushed expander, anything like that, you don't want that when you're fishing for these small fish. You want canal ground bait, lake, roach, anything like that. If you're unsure, just ask the tackle shop dealer and tell him where you're going and just say you want a non-fish meal mix for canals. They'll sort you some different ground bait that you need, the right stuff. Right, what we've got to do when we've selected which ground bait we're going to use, we need to mix it up, mix some water with it to mix it up. And what I normally do, today we're going to use 2 parts lake. So just measure them out like that, just so we know for the future. So we've got 1, 2 pints of lake there, and what we're going to do, we're going to mix canal with it. If I was going to mix a canal on its own, it would be it wouldn't bind so much. So we just mix the lake with it. So there we go. So we mixed all the dry ingredients together, and what we do, we just mix them all together, so it's all blended into one first. Right, so obviously if you just try to chuck that in now, because it's dry, you need to wet it so it goes down to the bottom of the canal. And rather than pour a load of water in one go, which, you know, has a risk of spoiling it, we just put a bit in at a time. So just pour a bit in there. You can always put more in, but you can't take it out. So just get your hands in. Don't worry if you've not got drills to mix it. Small amounts like this, I'll just mix it with my hands anyway, like so. So just make sure, and it's important to use a round bucket like this, and then it gives you plenty of space to get all the mix with the water in. So obviously it's still too, see, it's not forming a ball or anything, so it's still too dry, but we're just putting a bit in at a time. A bit more there. So it's all consistent now. It's all, you know, water's going through all of it. If you had a small, you know, if we were trying to mix it in that, we wouldn't have enough room to get all the water to it, and you'd end up with some parts of it dry and some parts of it damp. So it's just starting to squeeze and hold together. It's still a bit dry though, because you want it the consistency where you can squeeze a ball without messing about with it. So a bit more water, but now is the critical time. If we put loads more in now, you could spoil the mix. So it's just starting to take now. And incidentally, you're probably best off doing this before you come down to the canal, before you come down to your session. Like I normally get up a bit earlier in the morning and mix it before I leave, and that's just one less thing to do on the bank. And sometimes you might get to the bank and it's pouring down with rain, so the last thing you want to be doing is doing all this sort of thing when it's hammering down with rain. And it just gives you a bit more time to get all your equipment ready. So, and if you do spoil it, at least you can start it all again, and so you haven't ruined it on the bank and you've got no spare ground bait. So we just need a bit more water, like that. And it's just really sort of you know, it's like making a cake, I suppose. Not that I've ever made any cakes, but I've ate a few. But just get it all the mixture all nice and damp there. And what it'll do, what ground bait tends to do, after about a quarter of an hour, it'll dry out a little bit. So you need to add a bit more water. Rather than use it straight away, just give it a bit of time to settle, just to see if you need any more water put into it. So what we'll do, we'll put this aside and we'll come back to it in a quarter of an hour, just to see if it needs any more water put into it. Right, we've come to the ground bait 15 minutes later, and it has, like we thought, it has dried out a little bit. So we just need to put in a tiny bit more water. So I'm just gonna put in a bit of water there. I'm not pouring in loads. But now it's got to the consistency where you can squeeze a ball like that without, you know, it's not breaking up, and it'll go travel to the bottom where the fish are, and it'll create us a nice little target area to fish over. If it was too dry and we couldn't squeeze it, you know you need some more water. So, and a good tip as well is just to push it through a sieve. If you've got a sieve, is just to take any of the bigger lumps out, which feeds the smaller fish up. So all we do is get it all out of the bucket there, put the sieve on top, and just riddle it through. And this just takes any lumps out, put some air into it and everything. So any lumps that are on top, we just push through like that. Really important, it's, you know, this and getting the depth right, plumbing up, is the most important thing. You know, if you can get just these little basic things, the right ground bait, get it mixed correctly, plumb your depth correctly, not fish too far out, it'll really give you a head start, and you'll be on the right lines for when you come for your session. So now we just push those through there. So now we've got a nice fine ground bait there, and we can just squeeze a ball, nice ball like that, and it'll travel to the bottom without breaking up, and perfect for your canal fishing.